Opportunities that women take for granted today have not always been available. Thanks to the Women's Equity Action League, commonly known as WHEEL, and its founder, Elizabeth Boyer, today's women enjoy a broader range of choices regarding education, careers, and finances. Before Boyer and WHEEL, discrimination against women was prevalent. Married women, including wives who earned their own paychecks, and those who had owned credit cards when they were single, were required to apply for credit cards in their husbands' names. Newspapers advertised job vacancies by gender. The higher-paying jobs were usually listed in the Help Wanted male ads, and some ads for the same job offered higher pay for men than for women. Many universities based admissions on high school grades and a quota system that maintained a 50-50 gender balance in the student body. Because female applicants' grades were, on average, higher than male applicants' grades, this process excluded many qualified women. The Cleveland, Ohio school system forced pregnant teachers to take unpaid maternity leaves beginning 5 months before the expected birth of the child. The teachers could be reinstated after the child was 3 months old, on the condition that they provided a doctor's certificate testifying to their health and physical condition. Most female athletes did not receive scholarships or have access to university athletics facilities and privileges. Some women across the country noticed these and other inequities and began to do something about them. One of those women was Elizabeth M. Boyer, a 1937 graduate of Bowling Green State University. Elizabeth Boyer, known to friends and family as Betty, was born in 1913 in Fremont, Ohio, where she spent her formative years.
When Betty was a young child with both parents, she lived in an affluent environment. That changed when her mother passed away.
I was sent to live on my grandmother's farm, where the ability to do hard physical work became one of my lifetime advantages. Many years later, I built a house, doing all the masonry work and much of the other labor myself. Betty Boyer, 1977.
In 1933, Betty entered Bowling Green State University, where she distinguished herself as a scholar, writer, artist, leader, and athlete. After earning a degree in education, she worked as a teacher, a writer, and an editor for trade journals. Betty went on to earn a law degree from Cleveland Marshall School of Law and a Master of Law from the former Western Reserve School of Law. Because no law firms were admitting women, she established her own practice. In all of her pursuits, she was acutely aware of educational and economic discrimination against women.
I was concerned about economic advancement of women, which led me to set up the Women's Equity Action League in 1968 to improve the social, economic, and legal status of all women. The organization grew to have members in every state and a national office in Washington, D.C. Betty Boyer, 1978.
Boyer's experience as an attorney enabled her to provide wise guidance to WHEEL members in their courageous efforts to right many of the gender iniquities in society. In fact, in 1973, WHEEL led a revolt that resulted in the U.S. Supreme Court banning those sex-segregated, help-wanted job advertisements.
Betty was very proud of the court case that was won through the Supreme Court, the decision that was in their favor, her favor, when they went after the newspapers for designating jobs wanted as a help wanted male, help wanted female.
WHEEL worked with Dr. Bernice Sandler to file sex discrimination charges against 250 colleges and universities on behalf of their female faculty members. The end result was Title IX, which quickly extended to students as well as faculty.
Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 is the most important law passed for women and girls since women first obtained the right to vote back in 1920. All of us in this country, women and men, owe Betty Boyer an enormous debt for her work in making Title IX possible.
WHEEL also lobbied for the passage of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974, filed a brief in the pregnancy discrimination lawsuit against the Cleveland school system, and lobbied for passage of the 1978 Pregnancy Discrimination Act.
At the time we established WHEEL, most of us were hoping it would last for 5 or 10 years, at the end of which time our goals would have been met. However, it is clear that our early view was overly hopeful. Betty Boyer, 1977.
Betty Boyer chose to go to Bowling Green State University. To go to college is a big deal for any young person, because when you go to college, and she did this at Bowling Green, you learn to think. You learn about what came before in history. You learn what may come after. You learn about the world, and you learn how to analyze and think critically. That's what college does when it succeeds, and it certainly succeeded with Elizabeth Boyer, founder of the Women's Equity Action League.
In 2011, National President Pat Bliss-Egan announced that WHEEL would close in 2012 because there were no new leaders to carry the organization forward. So in the future, the Women's Equity Action League will be gone. But here at Bowling Green State University, it will never be forgotten. In tribute to the wisdom, courage, and foresight of our alumna, Betty Boyer, and as acknowledgement to all the WHEEL members who worked on behalf of women's rights for over 40 years, the BGSU Women's Center has established the Elizabeth M. Boyer Fund for Student Mothers. The fund will provide financial aid to select BGSU student mothers to help with health and welfare expenses of their children. The following stories, told by 3 determined and resourceful mothers, demonstrate the urgent need for the Boyer Fund and the hope that it offers to BGSU families.
Financial challenges for student parents are tremendous. After meeting the basic needs of my 3 children, I barely scrape by every month. Because of this, I have to get a little creative with budgeting. Anything from cutting coupons to living without cable TV. I can do without the cable, but I need to use my spare time to work on projects or for studying. I'm currently in the 3rd year of the architecture program. Had I been a recipient of this fund, I believe that I would have already graduated and would be either pursuing a master's degree or working to obtain my licensure. The Elizabeth M. Boyer Fund will be critical in assisting BGSU student parents gain financial independence. It will help student mothers who are among the most marginalized people on campus transform not only their own lives, but their children's lives through a college education.
As a student mother, I struggled to pay for the bare necessities. My expenses included clothes, food, and medical expenses for my son Jonah, while maintaining a budget for essentials like gas, car maintenance, and utilities, as well as tuition, books, fees, and other educational expenses. I've seen some women who have faced the challenges of raising a child or children while attending college lose hope. If the Boyer Fund had existed while I was a student at BGSU, I would have felt more secure and more welcome. Simply knowing the community cared enough to provide funds for someone like me would have made campus feel more inviting. To me, the Boyer Fund means that more mothers will obtain degrees from BGSU. When a woman receives an education, she raises the standard of living for herself and for her children, producing an impact that can continue for generations.
When I was a student mother with limited financial resources, my interactions on campus were restricted to classroom activities. I did not participate in extracurricular activities, attend sports or entertainment events on campus, or just hang out in the common area with other students. I never ate in the on-campus locations, but instead packed a lunch purchased with food stamps. Participation in study groups was limited to those groups of students who were willing to meet at my apartment at times arranged around my daughter's schedule. I did not have my first Bowling Green logo clothing until I made a visit back to campus more than 16 years after graduation. I'm excited to learn about the Boyer Fund, and I applaud the Women's Center and BGSU for establishing it. I am confident that donors will understand the important difference they are making in the lives of students who have children.
Your tax-deductible gift to the Elizabeth Boyer Student Mother Fund will help sustain the goals of the Women's Equity Action League to improve the social, economic, and legal status of all women. You can make a gift online or by calling the BGSU Women's Center. Your gift to the Elizabeth Boyer Student Mother Fund will continue the legacy of Betty Boyer and WHEEL by supporting potential Betty Boyers of the future. Thank you.